Hello, YTPC. Ethan, parsimonious Piper here. Today, I've got Doug, Michigan Piper, formerly Michigan E-Piper. So, how are you, Doug?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Fantastic. It is just a gorgeous day. What you smoking?
I have some Boswell's Bear Blend in my Morgan's Bones Rhodesian. I got this at the Columbus Pipe Show and really kind of fell in love. Of course, I fell in love with Morgan's Bones before that, but I like this one just as much.
Well, I have got some Savinelli Doblon de Oro. See if I can get that up near the camera. In a Aaron McCabe, Chronicles of a Pipe Maker, little 320-esque pipe. Absolutely beautiful pipe.
I've seen those.
And a nice Kentucky blend. Yeah, he does some really interesting carvings. This was one of the few that he did that really is a more traditional look. And the bird's eye and everything on it is just, he did a gorgeous job. As soon as I saw that, I said, hey, you haven't sold that, have you?
Mine dibs.
Yeah. So let's dive right in. Tell us where you live, what you do, who you are.
Well, I'm in Southwest Michigan, the last corner in the state, and I'm a fire chief by trade. Been in the fire service for 25-ish years. Love my job. Love the guys that work for me, that I work for. Married, got one adult son who still lives with us for the time being. We just moved, as some people may already know, and he's trying to figure out the new area before he decides, what he wants to do, where he wants to go. So, as far as what I like to do, other than pipe smoking and YTPC videos, is I love to hunt. I spent the last 2 days hunting, unfortunately unsuccessfully, because it was a property since I've moved that I hadn't scouted very well and don't know very well, but that's all part of hunting. So and then I'm also like to ride motorcycles. So
is this the beginning of deer season up there?
Yeah, November 15th was beginning of shotgun. October 1st was actually the beginning of bow season, which I usually bow hunt. But again, because of the change and everything, I didn't get to get out. This is like the first time in 15 years I think I didn't go bow hunt.
Yeah, no, our season just opened up, and I am not an avid hunter. Haven't hunted anything since college. So I'm not sure which phase of the season just opened up this last week, but I'm sure it's some firearm phase, because that's what the media always gets so worked up about. They don't seem to notice when people are out there with archery equipment.
That's right. Sneak in, sneak out.
Yeah, basically. Okay, so I already alluded to the fact that your channel name used to be Michigan E-Piper. Tell us a little bit about that, and maybe the transition you've made from that into smoking tobacco pipes.
Sure. Started honestly about a year ago. I got into, probably a little bit before that, I should say. I think it was a year ago, summer. My son worked at a vape shop, and he was like, Dad, you need to start vaping, because he knew that I smoked for years and years. And I haven't smoked for a while now, but my grandfather, just like a lot of other guys, my grandfather smoked pipe. And I told him, I said, if they had pipes, then you could talk me into vaping. And he's like, well, they do. So I started looking at them, and of course, I was looking at all the Chinese knockoffs, but then I found out that they actually make some nice custom E-pipes. And I ordered my first, actually, I think he bought me my first one, my first real one. And then got into that a little bit, but there was just something missing. The E-juice that you put in them, it's good, but it's also, like the tobaccos before they're burning. So you don't get hardly any of the room note off of that. So which you would be surprised, because when a lot of these guys are smoking unicorn farts or vaping unicorn farts, and it smells like bubble gum in the room, you would think that the pipe stuff would be the same, but it's not. So I did that for a while, and then I got hooked up with a guy, a guy by the name of Pete from Pete's Pipecraft. And I started asking him some questions because every time I was doing some research on YouTube or wherever about e-pipes, because it was such a small, tiny little niche, regular tobacco pipes would come up. And I was asking him some questions, and next thing you know, a pipe and some sample tobacco shows up at the door. And I was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. And I was shocked. You know, of course, I started out like anybody else. I had smoked a pipe one other time when this is probably 30 years ago. Did it all wrong, jammed it in there, lit it up, you know, and coughed and hacked and dumpster fire. And so I had learned enough on the YTPC, which it took me a while to even figure out what YTPC stood for. I'm like, what's this YTPC thing? But once I got that all figured out, then you know, I was kind of hooked, and I did a couple of videos on the comparisons of vaping versus regular tobacco pipes. And so then I just kind of course, you know, in the meantime, I started my YouTube channel, Michigan E-Piper, and kind of went right along the lines with Mick from Aussie E-Piper.
Right.
And him and I, you know, kind of followed each other through this, and then.
Well, didn't you guys both kind of make the switch around roughly the same time?
Yep, it was about last December, I think it was. And he told me, it was funny because he told me in one of my videos, it's like, I'm living vicariously through you. And then sure, you know, like a month later or something like that, I think he ended up jumping ship too. And I'm pretty sure he still vapes every now and then. I don't vape at all anymore. But yeah, I got over into the regular piping, and I gave it a while before I changed the name because I was like, well, you know, I don't know if I really want to change it or not. I got some suggestions, and I figured the Michigan Piper was close enough to Michigan E-Piper that everybody would get it, you know.
Yeah, I think that's probably as easy a transition as we could come up with. You know, it certainly wasn't much of a stretch. So you talk about getting into regular pipes from the e-pipes. How did you find the YTPC?
How did I find the YTPC? That was pretty much it. I mean, these videos kept popping up, and you know, I'd ask, I can't remember what questions I was looking for, but some of them, some of the videos would keep popping up, and some of the questions I'd search for. I'm like, whatever, I'll give it a shot. I don't even know what YTPC stands for, so I'll watch and figure it out, you know. And it's funny because if you think about it from an outsider's point of view, very few people say YouTube pipe community.
Right.
So I'm like, you know, honestly, I spent like an hour looking. Like, I had no idea what it stands for. So
I know I'm guilty of that myself. I ought to at least once a week say, you know, hello YouTube pipe community instead of YTPC. Just in case some random person sees it and goes, who are these people?
Yeah. So yeah, that's how I got into it, into the YTPC, just, you know, seeing that. And then I think obviously what really set the hook was when Pete sent me that stuff, and I started smoking. I was like, okay, now I'm ready to go. And the fact that my wife didn't implode when I told her I was smoking again.
Now, did you have a gateway channel or two?
What's that?
Did you have a gateway channel or two?
Meaning?
Well, for example, I found this whole crazy network of guys through Mutton Chop and John Bearded Welshman. And I think I found Bearded Welshman off of George Bruno. So you know, there were a couple of those channels that I was watching, and you know, Mutton Chop, I was soaking up everything he put out there because he saved my pipe smoking, you know, hobby with all of his different, even the pointers that he gives you that you wind up discarding later, at least move you in the right direction, and you start discovering, oh, there are lots of different ways to do things, but the way I'm doing it is not one of them.
Yeah.
You know,
sort of like taking the training wheels off. Yeah. Yeah,
well,
I did. I mean, I jumped on with Mutton Chop right away. I mean, I was like, this
okay.
guy's phenomenal. He's like watching Bob Ross. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you just can't get enough of him. So Yeah,
For those of you who are under 50, Bob Ross was a painter on television who taught you how to paint simple scenes using simple strokes. Back to our regular programming.
very peacefully, I might add.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Mutton Chop, I think, was the first main channel I watched, just like everybody else, you know. And it seems so cliche to say, but that just goes to prove the quality of channel that he has, you know, to be able to have that. And you know, the funny part is, you said about, you know, what you throw away or whatever. I've thrown a lot of stuff away that I've learned on his channel, but that didn't mean it was excellent. Wasn't excellent information from the get go.
Right.
And like, I don't know if you heard, but it's like, to me, it's kind of like taking the training wheels off. You know, he was my training wheels, and then, you know, I got to a certain point. Now, I will be honest, I still struggle tremendously at times with flavor, taste. You know, not so much tongue bite anymore, but you know, it's been less than a year, or about a year. So, you know, I imagine that'll get a little better as I go. But you know, I can also say that the YTPC was a great net as well. Nathan from Let My Cameron Go, Pat from Paladin Piper have been wonderful, and kind of giving me some pointers, and you know, hey, try this, and going from there.
Yeah, I don't have much sense of smell, so all of those nuanced flavors are completely lost on me. That's why I like the you know, slap you in the face stuff like Pirate Cake and Haunted Bookshop, and the black and brown Irish twists, and you know, Rustica, and all these blends that a lot of people just, oh, that's way too. No, I have to smell it to taste it, and you know, so I don't taste all of those you know, crazy, being able to pick which side of the fence the Virginia grew on like Jim Inks does. You know,
Yeah.
you know that's a little beyond me.
Yeah, I don't know who was it? Oh, Adam from the last video he did from Piper Wandering. He had sent me some tobacco, and I'd done a, you know, sort of like a yabo on it. I was smelling tobacco, and I'm like, you know, I'm getting some Latakia, and I'm getting some Virginia, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm just joking, because I can't pick that stuff out. No idea.
Yeah, Latakia is the one that I think everybody can pick out. Other than that, yeah, I can't tell you whether something has red Virginias or bright Virginias in it. It smells sweet, okay? It's got some kind of Virginia in it, whatever. Yeah. And that's less likely to be a blend I'll smoke. So, you know, I'm a burley guy. So you've been at this for about a year. Have you fallen in love with any particular pipe carvers, brands, or shapes?
You know, I'd say the top of the list is probably the Morgan's Bones. My only drawback is I wish they had more of a variety, because I'm a big bent pipe guy. I have one Dr. Graybo, vintage Dr. Graybo, that's a straight pipe. The rest of my pipes are all bent, and I just don't care for the straight pipes. So when it comes to Morgan's Bones, I think if they had some more bent ones, I'd probably dig into that. And I'm still going to there's still some that are on my wish list. Other than that, I do have some Dr. Graybos. Obviously, I you know, started off with those because they were cheap, but they're good. You know, one of my favorite smoker is my Dr. Graybo Savoy, you know, it was $50 in a brick and mortar, you know, and I know you can get them for down around 40. So
yeah,
so yeah, and I loved corn cobs for about a month, and then I just kind of got away from them. They're not. I still like them, you know, but I just not as much as the briars.
Well, I happen to love cobs. I just picked up a couple bags of those smokable seconds from Missouri Meerschaum. They don't offer them all that often, and to be able to pick up, you know, pipes at $5 a piece for a bunch of cobs that I'm not afraid to run over with my lawnmower. You know,
exactly.
But now about the Morgan Bones pipes. Now, they have a reputation for good engineering at a great price point. Is that what mostly attracts you to them, or is there something else?
I would say that they, it's pretty cool to watch it color. I mean, I've got the sausage I've got here.
Oh, wow.
Here. So the sausage I've got here has like 3-4 months on the Rhodesian, and you can see the difference in the color.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of fun to watch. It's almost like I don't know, a project or whatever as you're smoking them. They feel good in the hand, a little weightier. I think that's the biggest, and obviously the number one thing for me is they're the best smokers that I have. I'm not saying that they're the best smokers out there. I know Briar Blues kind of did a little talk on that on one of his videos, about don't say yours smokes better than mine because that's all you have. And that's absolutely the truth is that,
Yeah.
I don't know how the rest of them smoke. I do have a Peterson I picked up at the pipe show as well, Peterson system pipe. This is not my showing off, but just to give you a point. And I thought I was going to love this one. I was looking for a Peterson. I couldn't wait. And I like it, but it's just not, to me, it's not the Morgan's Bones, and people are cringing, I'm sure, right now as I'm saying that, especially NW Piper. But I just, in that Peterson pipe. Now, that's the only Peterson pipe that I have. So, right now it's all Morgan Bones.
So have you contacted Morgan Bones and said, hey, where's the bent pipe love?
No, but that's a good idea. I should try that.
And maybe they don't know that they've got customers out there that would love to have more bent pipes.
That's a good point. Yeah. Maybe after I get the piggy bank a little bit bigger, I'll make that call.
Yeah. You don't really want to push them to do something if you're not ready to pull the trigger. That certainly is true.
I always say I'm not a poor man, but my play money is poor. So.
Well, especially after moving and all of that tends to deplete the fun money fund. So you transitioned from e-pipes to pipes. What kinds of blends did you find interesting coming from e-pipes? What'd you start off on?
Well, I started off on Captain Black White. I remember seeing that. I remember smelling the vanilla. Believe it or not, I could pick that out. So I started off with that, and one of the samples that Pete had sent me was Old Toby, and I was just floored by that one. And of course, that's one thing that maybe Mutton Chop could do a video on. Is I started off like everybody else, giving me all the aromatics, and roasting my tongue, and so that's where I started. Now, one of the other samples was Boswell's Bear Blend, and that one has kind of stuck with me. I don't smoke the Captain Black nearly as much, but it was definitely the Black Cavendish. And of course, with the vaping, most of my vape juice was Black Cavendish. So it was, that's why I went. Another reason why I went that route was to kind of stay in that realm. And I will tell you, I only smoke about 2 to 3 bowls a week. And I know, a lot of guys smoke 3, 4, 5, 6 or more bowls a day. So I would say I'm a little handicapped when it comes to having the education that other pipe smokers would have at this point. So I haven't really branched out. I honestly reined myself back a little bit because I was adding so many variables, the different pipes, the different tobaccos, that I couldn't put my thumb on anything. And I'm very systematic when it comes to some of that stuff. So I decided to back off and just go with some of the, Codger blends, minus the Bears blend. I picked up some Paladin the other day, which I'm heartbroken about because Paladin Piper, Pat, he was talking about how he used to love it, and now he's just kind of like a friendship with it. And right. I'm like, I wonder why that is. I went and bought some at the store, and I loved it. Yeah. And then come to find out, I have the old stuff. So yes, I love it, but it was one of the last ones I had in the store. I won't be able to get it again. So
yeah, yeah, it's been interesting watching him from the very first videos that I watched of his. He was on a cherry exploration, smoking. Oh, I don't know. He must have done 30 or 40, maybe more different cherry blends, trying to find something that was better than Paladin. And then all of a sudden, he's not so fond of Paladin anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Well, if I understood him right, it was because of that change.
yeah, it was. So codger blends. Do you have a favorite codger?
I would say right now it's probably the Paladin. Um, I try. Well, I'd say I have two: the Paladin and the Carter Hall.
Ah, there you go. There's my man. Carter
Uh,
Hall's probably my favorite.
yeah, yeah. I bought Carter Hall a little pouch. Like everybody keeps talking about Carter Hall, and what was the other one? I can't remember the name of it now. I have the package yet. Oh, Sir Walter Raleigh. That's what.
Oh yeah.
And for some reason, I can't get into Sir Walter Raleigh.
Hmm.
Carter Hall, I love, but Sir Walter Raleigh just doesn't do it for me. So,
Well,
but
I like both of them, but Carter Hall is just it's such an easygoing, everyday kind of blend, and I think the room note on that seems to be more pleasant to people around me than some of the other codger blends. Most of the codgers have a decent room note, but Carter Hall is one that my wife can tolerate because it's got that little bit of nutty. It's just a soft aroma.
yeah, yeah, and I think Pat was the one that said that it's not complicated. It is what it is. It's straightforward, and you don't have to go searching for the nuances in it. And
right.
I will say that I did get in the tobacco that Adam sent me. One of them was Cornell and Deal Autumn Evening, and my wife is like a lot of guys' wives, where it doesn't matter what it is, get it away from me type of thing, and which I'm extremely blessed to have the room now. But she came down the other day after I smoked Autumn Evening, and she's like, "That one smells like incense," and I'm going to choose that as a win. So
yeah, I mean, she didn't compare it to any sort of animal excrement, so yeah,
exactly.
that's a
Well
win. That my wife, for the most part, I'm one of those lucky guys. My wife likes the room note of cherry blends, so I'm constantly on the hunt for a cherry blend that actually tastes good and pleases her. But she's discovered that she also likes is it Sutliff or Lane, the Sunset rum that you can get in bulk that old Pops likes. So there are a couple like that, but they have to be over the top sweet, fruity aromas for her to tolerate them. And I happen to hate aromatics, so we have a little bit of an issue. Well, I shouldn't say I hate aromatics, but they're just not my favorite.
Yeah, get that.
That's funny though. Incense, I would take that as a win.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's been nice because I've got the room now that I didn't have before. I never planned on building a man cave, but when we got here, this room that I'm in now was a barber shop, and it was kind of a creepy barber shop because you went into the basement through the finished basement, then you got into the furnace room, and in the back of the furnace room there's a door. You open it up, and here's this fully furnished barber shop. So, and it was already pretty much ready to go for me. All I had to do was furnish it. So I ended up putting a fan in. There just happened to be an old window well in the room, so I put a fan in there, and it's been a great place to come get away. She doesn't have to smell it, and I get my getaway.
So was the previous owner giving haircuts to the mafia or something? I mean,
I have no idea. I know that my neighbor is 88. He came over and he's like, yeah, he said he cut my hair for 30 years down there. So I mean, he had his licenses and everything up here. So I don't know if it was I have no idea what it was.
That's just an interesting place to put a barbershop.
It is. I mean, they had a whole other part of the basement they could have used. There's no outside entrances to this room, not even close, but that's what he chose, and it worked out for me. So I'm not complaining.
All right. Well, you mentioned another shared love with me, and that was motorcycles. I actually have not ridden my motorcycles. Well, I sold one of them. I still have one left, but I have not ridden it since I bought my Miata. But before that, I was an everyday commute to work, weekend rider. So what do you ride, and how do you ride? Or do you get out on weekends? Do you make longer trips?
Well, I I don't ride as much now as I used to. Not out of design. It's just, the way everything's been working. I'm hoping to get some more miles. But uh, what as far as what I ride, it's a Yamaha V-Star 1300. Have some mini apes on it, but I always wanted to go with mini apes, and then I never did. And then I found this bike and bought it. Not on a whim, but I needed something. So
Hmm.
it worked out. It worked out really well. Favorite bike I've ever had. Uh, I did have. I'm not riding at all right now because I hit a deer earlier this year with the bike.
Right.
Um, I managed to keep it up, but I totaled it. So the nice part was frame and everything was fine. It's just all the bolt-on parts got all bent up and twisted up, and the only thing that really broke is my leg. So um, I got the parts, and this winter I hope to rebuild it and have it ready to go for the spring. But as far as I did a charity ride uh, south of here, about half hour south of where I am now. For 11 years, we started this charity ride for the children's burn camp, and it was I spent every summer. Of course, I was a shift fireman then, so I had full days off, and I would spend my summers on my days off going back and forth getting donations, setting up, all the logistics it takes to put something like that on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was putting a lot of my. Matter of fact, I took my bike at the time into the shop to have its regular checkup. The guy hopped on it, taken the back, and looked at it and goes, "Oh, you actually ride your bike?" Yeah, yeah, I do.
Yeah. Yeah. The last one I sold, I had put 130,000 miles on it. It was a good old bike. I had that one for quite a while. Um,
Well, you're a pretty good area down there to be riding in anyway. So.
well, yes and no. The problem here now is we get a lot of rain. And that was really the reason that I quit riding, is because I just got tired of putting rain gear on. See, I put most of my high mileage on my bikes when we lived in Arizona, and I could ride 330 days a year. When you get less than 2 months worth of days of precipitation, you can pretty much ride your bike anytime you want. And
Absolutely.
And once we got here, my wife and I planned a bunch of weekend trips, and every single time we had one planned, storms came through. So we figured the Miata, well, if a storm comes through, you put the top up, you weather the storm, and when the sun comes back out, you drop it, and yeah, it's worked out well for us. But have you ever considered combining your three hobbies and putting a rifle sheath on your bike and going all Mad Max and hunting off your motorcycle?
I will tell you that I was close, because one of my other hobbies is hiking,
Right.
and so I couldn't figure out one day if I wanted to go hiking or if I wanted to go take the bike out. So I took the bike to go hiking. So now it's nothing to put a pipe on a bike now. So maybe
Yeah.
just have to figure out that maybe I'll start hunting with a pistol, and then I should be all set to go.
I'd like to see a picture of you with that rifle slung across your back, a pipe in your mouth, and tooling down the road.
May have to make that happen. Might scare the neighbors, but may have to make it happen.
Fun stuff. Very fun stuff. So as we start winding this down, the YTPC, so many of us just love this community. What keeps you here? What's your favorite thing about it?
It's hard to put one thing as a favorite, to tell you the truth, Ethan. Two of the biggest things, is the generosity, just the guys taking each other under their wing, the camaraderie, the hey, what can I do for you? You do it, the Piper's Care, just that type of atmosphere or attitude. And then the attitude of, and I think you talked about it a little bit with Adam, is the attitude of, it doesn't matter what comes up, we're going to deal with it in a cordial way, and not a I'm so tense under my skin that I can barely have this conversation kind of cordial, but the cordial of, what, it doesn't really matter right now because we've lit our pipes, we're enjoying the moment, and we can get through that. And I think, honestly, I've always said, well, not always, but since I've been in the YTPC, that I think that a lot of the reason that we can do that is because we are taking time out. We're not having these conversations as we're rushing off someplace, or we're thinking about everything else. We're having these conversations. We've decided to take our time out to grab a pipe and just relax for a minute.
Hmm.
You know, maybe we need to get with the UN and make sure they do a standard issue of pipes.
I know that's been a longstanding. Well, it's not really a joke, but that if you could just get everybody who disagrees together to sit down over a pipe, we could probably work out some of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But well, this has been a fun conversation. Do you have any parting words for our viewers?
Just, thanks for your views, thanks for your subscriptions, and please, please, please keep doing what you're doing, because every little piece that we can have to make this place a better world until we're done with it is a good thing.
It certainly is. With those parting words, folks, I'm going to tell you what I always tell you. Light something you like. Enjoy your afternoon.